We'll go out to the coast, get together, have a few laughs. Welcome to Eat Sleep Nerd, a podcast where you can check out, go AFK, and relax with us as we discuss all things nerd. Comic books, video games, movies, TV shows, and anything else that gets geeks more worked up than Damon on a family trip to the brothel.
Welcome to episode number 24. I'm Corey Winter, and as always, I am joined by my nerdy brother Josh Winter and our geeky friend Jason Summer. In this episode, we are talking about the announcement of the Keanu Reeves Constantine sequel, Amazon's Blade Runner series, the upcoming multiple GoldenEye 007 releases, and more. In the second half of the episode, we will be discussing She-Hulk Episode 5, Lord of the Rings of Power Episode 4, and The House of the Dragon Episode 4. But first, please share the show with your friends and everybody you have ever come into contact with. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. And you know what? Just share the love.
Share
The
the show, boy.
Share the love.
And
Josh, you're back.
I am back.
He has been resurrected.
I've recovered. That's COVID 0 Josh 2 now at this point.
Wow.
Yeah.
That stinks. I mean, it stinks that you had it. I mean, it's good that you're back and, you know, that you won.
I mean, the way I see it is so much of my job is public facing. I go into people's homes. I meet a jillion people at work. Like I'm going to catch everything that goes around. Like there's just no way around it. So it's fine. Back-to-back COVID champ.
You are. We're going to start hanging pennants up on your wall.
Yeah.
So, instead of talking about what we watched this week, I want to know what you guys have been geeking out on. Regardless of what it is, any activity, what made you geek out this week?
Okay, so I have one. It wasn't so much an activity that I did, but I read a short story about Hugh Jackman. This happened, and it was hilarious.
Okay.
You know, you're sitting on the toilet and you're scrolling or whatever. So this was a toilet find, and
that's a visual I needed. Thank you.
Yeah, and don't act like you don't do it. And but no, it's back when he was getting ready for X-Men, back at the turn of the millennium, and he had auditioned. He had his last audition, and turns out he was the last person hired in the principal cast. So they said, "Hey, you've got it. By the way, we're already filming. You need to come to Canada right now." So he says, "Okay, okay, sure." So he flies to Canada. He gets there, and they say, "Hey, Mr. Jackman," who at this point, like, no one knows who he is. They're just like, "Where's your work visa?" And he was just like, "Ooh," you know, they didn't give him a work visa yet because it was so spur of the moment. They go back and forth a little bit, and eventually they're just like, "Mr. Jackman, I'm afraid, you know, we're not going to be able to let you into the country. You don't have a work visa. We're going to put you on a plane and send you back to the States." And he said, "Okay. I mean, you know, it's understandable. You know, you're doing your job." And the head immigration guy is getting ready to leave the office, and he turns around and goes, What was your job anyway?" He says, "Well, I'm an actor. I'm doing a movie." He said, "Yeah, what movie?" He says, "The X-Men." And the guy stops and he says, "Like the cartoon?" He says, "Well, I mean, that's the idea, but it's live action." The guy says, "Well, who are you playing?" He says, "I'm going to be Wolverine." They gave him a police escort out of the airport and got him all the way to the film studio on the condition that he provided the visa as soon as they gave it to him. And so that's a fun story.
That's pretty cool.
Of how a nerd saved the day. Because,
and let's not forget,
like,
X-Men was literally his very first role ever.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Brand
Wow.
newbie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But the point is, if that guy hadn't been a nerd, if the head of immigration at that particular airport hadn't been a nerd, we may never have had Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, because they would have recast. They would have just found someone who was there.
So thank you, nerd. So I don't know if I mentioned it on this show, but I've been cast as an understudy in the stage adaptation of the movie Misery,
Ooh.
which is a Stephen King movie.
Are you
Are
Kathy
you playing the
Bates'
Kathy
person?
Bates character?
Yeah.
Damn it! No, but I am James Caan's character.
Ooh.
I'm the author who gets his, we'll just say hobbled. I don't want to go into graphic details, but he gets hobbled. But yeah, so that's kind of exciting. And this week we
That's very
practiced.
exciting.
We did what's called fight call, and that's where you practice all of the physical aspects of
okay.
the production,
That
like
would be
falling
my
out of
favorite part.
wheelchairs, falling out of bed, crawling across the floor, getting in fights, using typewriters as bludgeoning equipment, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when you first started that sentence, I thought you were going to say, and we had our fight club. I was like, what kind of show is this?
First off, you're not good at it because the very first rule is you're not supposed to tell anyone.
Right, you're not supposed to talk about it. All right. It's also the second. Yeah. So I did that, and that took up a lot of time because productions take up a lot of evenings. So I would say that's what I've been geeking out about this week.
All right.
That's a cool one.
All right. Well, that's awesome. Congrats on the
Yeah,
role.
that's worth geeking about.
Thank you.
For my geeky things, I actually have two, and then one of them is going to be a conversation starter. So I'll save that one for last. So the first thing was something new that I was watching, but a little bit further outside of the typical things we geek out on. It was a brand new drama based on a real life story on Apple TV called 5 Days at Memorial. So it's based on the real life events that the nurses, doctors, and patients went through at Memorial Hospital in New Orleans following the immediate aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. And it was an 8-episode miniseries. It's over now. It just finished up this past week. But it was heart-wrenchingly done well. And I had so many emotions while watching this. It was so well done. The first 5 episodes of this series, it was 1 episode per day at the hospital. And then the last 3 episodes were actually the court case the legal investigation surrounding the investigation into what happened to all the patients that died at the hospital. So the first 5 episodes were it was an emotional toll to watch these episodes because they did everything so well. Like you really understood what all the patients and nurses and doctors went through in this hospital that was without power. It was flooded. They couldn't contact the outside world. They were literally just stuck in this hospital for 5 days. It was horrifying, but it was so well portrayed in this show. I highly recommend if you can actually stomach that kind of emotion, but it was so dramatic, so well done, so well shot. If you ever watched Chernobyl on HBO, it was kind of like that same feel, like it was based on a historical event and just dramatized and really detailed. So highly recommend, but it is kind of gut wrenching at times. So that was what I was watching this week, and I powered all the way through it. But on a lighter topic, I want to talk about Brendan Fraser.
Okay.
Because he is coming back in conversations because his new movie's coming out called The Whale.
Yeah.
It just debuted at some film
festivals,
yes. And he was getting standing ovations. He is like early talks for Best Actor Oscar.
Wow. Okay.
I want to play his acceptance speech for the TIFF Tribute Award that he won.
Go for it.
There's a very specific reason I am going to play this for our audience, for you guys. Because first of all, it's just Brendan Fraser. He is
a gift,
a lovely human being. But also, there's a little bit of a backstory that I did not realize. So I'm going to play this clip real quick.
Wow, this is new for me as things go, because normally I'm the guy at the podium who hands these things out. I got pretty good at it. The trick is left hand hold, right hand shake. Left hand hold, right hand shake. Left hand hold, right hand shake. Yeah. So apart from being a part of some pretty impressive and talented ensemble casts, I think that the last time that I waited to hear my name called aloud to receive an award was in grade 4. And it was from the Pee Wee Bowling League. Oh, wait, it gets better. It was a little cup. It was about yay high, and it had the words high game handicap engraved on it. And to this day, still don't know what that means. But Mom said it was a major award. Oh, also engraved on the plaque was the name Brian Fosher. So Brian, if you're in the house, you can pick up your janky 45-year-old trophy at the coat check after the show. This one's mine.
So I had to look it up. He was not joking. He had actually never won an acting award outside of full ensemble awards.
Sure.
Despite the fact that he was in these amazing blockbuster movies in the early 2000s, late 90s, he had never won an award before. And this man is a treasure. So I am starting the campaign right now. Brendan Fraser, Best Actor, Oscar this coming year. Who's in?
I'm on board.
I'm all for this Brendanizance. I hate that one of his big returns was canceled because of the DC dumpster fire.
So it's actually funny. So he's making jokes about it. He was doing an interview for The Whale, and someone was asking him and his producer what they have coming up next. And when they asked Brendan directly, he was like, "Oh, Batgirl." He was like, "Oh."
Oh, but it is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But it seems like he's taking it with good humor.
Yeah.
Based on that
what
interview.
What else can you do? You know, just poor guy.
I'm here for it though. I think everybody really enjoyed him as an actor. You know, he disappeared for a while. He's just one of those actors who we just all warmed up to, and we would love to see back in the spotlight. So, yeah,
100%.
I'm saying it, letting everybody know we're going to be watching The Whale when it comes to theaters in December. We will be reviewing it and giving Brendan Fraser at least 5 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
All right, let's get into the nerdy news. We're starting with Josh's favorite segment and
Yes.
the Warner Brothers Disney dumpster fire.
That's fantastic.
Guys, you don't know how long I've been telling Corey we need a sound effect for this. Because it became a running joke that, of course, we were going to talk about it again. But then it became so ingrained in our culture that we had to make a segment for it. So this makes me happy. Thank you, Corey.
Yes, so back by popular demand is our Warner Brothers Discovery dumpster fire segment. But we're actually starting with some surprisingly optimistic news. A Constantine sequel starring Keanu Reeves has been announced. In a very unexpected but welcome bit of good news for DC fans, Warner Brothers is moving forward with a sequel to the 2005 Constantine. And yes, Keanu Reeves once again star as the magician/demon hunter John Constantine.
Woo!
Josh,
Yes.
You are a huge fan of both Keanu Reeves and Constantine.
Yes.
I think you've actually read the comic books.
Yes.
You've watched that other TV show that was on for a while.
Yes.
What's your takeaway from this?
So I mean, it's I have mixed feelings, but they're all good feelings. The original Constantine movie is really not that much like the comics at all. It's not a particularly faithful adaptation. That being said, it was a great movie. If you were gonna get something that wasn't a straight adaptation, at least they did you the favor of what they did was good. So he's not exactly like the comics, but his characterization was pretty dead on, aside from the fact that he played him as American instead of British. Obviously his physicality is different. And again, they made him kind of more of a demon hunter as opposed to the magician, mystical art sort of supernatural thing. But again, I loved it. It was an interesting adaptation, if not the most faithful. And so I'm stoked that he's coming back, especially because now they could layer it on with the grizzled old kind of Constantine approach, which is neat because he is actually one of the only comic book characters who has aged in real time throughout his run up until 5 or 6 years ago when they rebooted the DC universe. But on his 20th anniversary issue, he was 20 years older than when his run started back in the 80s. That's really cool. And in a medium where no one ages ever, that was really, really neat that he essentially aged in real time. So So yeah, like it's different, but it's a good different, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, so a couple of things. As you were mentioning, the character has aged. It has been almost, by the time this movie comes out, it will probably be 20 years since the first Constantine movie came out. A couple other things. It is being produced by J.J. Abrams.
For it.
Director Francis Lawrence will be directing it.
For it.
And I have two takeaways. So one is Warner Brothers only doing this to capitalize on the popularity of Keanu Reeves right now?
Yes.
Or do they actually have a worthwhile story to tell?
Well, I think you're right I think from a business sense, it's smart. He's a bankable actor right now, regardless of how well or how poorly his movies have done in the recent past. He still carries a lot of cash.
Both. Yep.
A lot of weight. Anyway, yeah, both work. And I think the character of Constantine has actually kind of remained unscathed by much of the dumpster fire. So I think it's a safe character to work with. And the Constantine character, even though re-envisioned and reimagined, was reintroduced in Sandman.
Mm-hmm. That is correct.
With Johanna Constantine. So, they kind of did I think what they did is like a litmus test, like how did fans react to another Constantine introduction? So I think they've done a little bit of their testing with the character and with the actor that they want to play. And, you said J.J. Abrams?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep.
Producing.
Yeah. I mean, a good, that's a good name to go with. I think it's a smart business move and has potential.
I think most of the time there are good stories that never get told because no one's interested in producing it. So yes, I think 100% the movie is going to get made because right now Keanu is white hot and just everything he touches makes a ton of money, even if it's not good. Looking at you, Matrix. So I think that is why we're getting the movie. But that being said, he has such a huge backstory of amazing storylines that they could get into and do. And so I think in this case, it is going to be a business decision. The money is going to come before the story. But with all the people involved, I think we're not going to have trouble getting a good story out of it.
So that kind of leads into my second takeaway. Is this actually Warner Brothers making a good decision when it comes to their DC films?
I think it's a desperate decision.
First off, I think they needed a win. That's an excellent point, Jason.
I think they're Hail Mary.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
no pun intended.
Right now, you look like the biggest
demonology and anyway.
Yeah, right now you just look like the biggest set of D-bags on the planet. So you need to do something to get some goodwill going, and nothing says goodwill like Keanu Reeves.
I'm wary. I'll say that. I would like for him to do well. I'd like for the movie to go well. I like for it to be a good movie, but I'm also wary.
Way to bring down the vibe.
Yeah. Killing it. Well, since the vibe is down, let's move on to our next Warner Brothers Discovery dumpster fire story. This one's actually a couple of weeks old, but I wanted to save it since Josh is back with us this week. So we previously knew that Warner Brothers was searching for a Kevin Feige-like figure to run their DC movie universe. And they had reportedly found someone named Dan Lin. Right? However, Dan Lin will not be filling the DC Kevin Feige role because it's being reported that Lin and Warner Brothers Discovery have opted to move on after failing to reach a deal. The big thing was that it seemed like Lin wanted to keep his rideback company going, but Warner Brothers was not cool with that. So Warner Brothers is yet again searching for their Kevin Feige.
Any one of us you can hire. Josh would probably be the best pick, but any one of us.
I haven't gotten my call back yet, but here's hoping. No, it's like I get where both sides were coming from on that end. It is a production company that Dan Lin had started himself, and then like he was there from the beginning. Like it was kind of his baby for the last however many years. So I get why he would want to either be allowed to continue running that or to bring it into the fold at Warner Brothers. Apparently, they weren't cool with either one of those. They considered that a conflict of interest. So I get it. I think his deal was predicated on they would have his complete and undivided attention, which I think is fair. But that's kind of a bummer because he seemed like a good fit.
Where have we seen his work before?
Godzilla versus Kong.
The Lego Movie, It films.
It Chapter 2, Godzilla King of the Monsters, most of the Disney live-action remakes.
He has been called one of the 30 most powerful film producers in Hollywood.
Okay.
The Sherlock Holmes movies. The Departed.
All right, so he definitely brings some clout with him.
Yeah, he knows how to make a movie. And a variety of movies. Like these were very different projects. So again, the idea is being they want to make a huge universe, which again, the assumption being that they're going to follow the MCU, that this would be a diverse range of projects, a little something for everybody. A guy who has made a lot of different kinds of movies. So, like I said, it's kind of a bummer. Like, I think that would have been a decent fit.
Yeah, I think we were this close to actually getting someone that actually knew what they were doing, but Warner Brothers screwed the pooch on that one.
My consultation days are every other Thursday.
I think they should have let him.
Yes, every other Thursday.
They should have let him keep his company.
Well, reportedly, it came down to compensation. Warner Brothers was going to have a minority stake in that company, but they couldn't agree on the compensation for what that stake would be. So that's when he pulled out.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it all came down to the dollar bills.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so Warner Brothers is still headless when it comes to their DC films. But that wraps up our Warner Brothers Discovery Dumpster Fire segment. Let's move on to some good news. Maybe. I don't know. I want to know. I'm going to do a Tim check on how you guys feel about this. But Amazon has announced a live-action TV sequel to the sci-fi classic Blade Runner. It will be called Blade Runner 2099. Obviously taking place 50 years after the most recent movie. Blade Runner director Ridley Scott and writer Michael Green will serve as executive producers.
Nice.
I don't know.
Takeaways from this. Are we excited? Because Amazon has been doing a pretty good job with
They've been making some bangers.
It just the Blade Runner movies are so niche in their in who they appeal to. I don't know. I mean,
don't gatekeep Blade Runner, bro.
No. I'm not. No.
Blade Runner is mine.
No. I know you're a nerd, but I don't know if you're nerd enough for Blade Runner.
What I'm saying is that I don't think that the movies and the stories are popular enough to warrant a series.
Sure, they are.
I think they're good, and I think there's a small group of people who like them. But I don't know. I don't know. It just never had like that overarching appeal that I think would warrant a movie. And I'm not saying don't do it, and I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm not gatekeeping, so stop that. I'm just saying I don't know if it's a good business decision. That's all I'm saying.
Gaslighting your gatekeeping.
Go away. You're done. Away. You're not welcome back.
I'm incepting your gatekeeping. No, so I'm gonna respectfully say you're wrong.
Okay.
You're wrong. And
respectfully.
Mm-hmm. Right.
With all due respect. If you say with all due respect.
Right, then it's fine. Right. Had you not said that, I would have taken offense.
Right? Right?
Right.
So with all due respect, no, the best parts about both Blade Runner movies were the world building, right? And you always felt like there was more there than you were getting shown. And it just felt like one of those things where you could spend a whole day just in one of these buildings or just walking down one of these streets. And you would probably never quit being fascinating. It was one of the most textural and visceral and realized sci-fi worlds. And so the idea of a show where even if it's on the shorter end, we would have 6, 7, 8 hours in this universe. I think that's amazing. And especially if you get the right writing team that's got a good head on their shoulders. I mean, especially with this time jump, you're not really even going to need to necessarily know what happened in the movies. Like, this could essentially stand on its own. Most of the characters that were in those movies we have to assume be dead by now.
Right, unless they were,
replicants.
Right.
I don't like the idea of Harrison Ford being a replicant. Like, I know that's like the official answer now, but I liked it better when we didn't know if he was a replicant. Anywho.
Which was the whole point.
Yeah, that was literally the whole point of the movie.
Right. It's like,
but
does it matter? Should it matter?
Amazon has not had a miss when it comes to making a TV series based on an existing IP. So until they have a miss,
this is a fact.
I'm excited for this because they have proven that they can do it justice.
I would be happy to be wrong.
Are they going to make a good James Bond movie? I'm going to be so pissed if they make it and it's good.
You mean like after you trash their
dude? I talk so much crap
race
about them. Yeah, I talk.
We still
so
haven't
much
seen
crap.
that actually materialize, have we?
No, maybe it won't.
Yeah,
maybe it won't.
Maybe it won't. Well, speaking of James Bond, thank you for that one. Moving into our next story, 2 separate GoldenEye re-releases have been announced. And so there's actually something interesting about this. So the first re-release of GoldenEye was announced at last week's Nintendo Direct. It was announced for Nintendo Switch Online. It will be an emulation of the N64 original, not a remake or remaster. However, it will feature online multiplayer for the first time.
Ew.
On the other side of the aisle, Rare, a Microsoft-owned studio who created the original version of GoldenEye, has announced that they will be re-releasing GoldenEye via Xbox's Game Pass. It will be made available free to owners of the Rare Replay collection. But this is not the exact same version that's being released on Nintendo Switch. This will actually include Xbox achievements, 4K resolution, a smoother frame rate, and even split-screen local multiplayer. However, it will not feature online multiplayer. And the interesting thing is that this is not the remaster of GoldenEye that has been rumored for a long time.
First off, haven't we already done this? Wasn't there a Daniel Craig remaster or remake of this game like 10 years ago?
Yeah, so it came out on the Wii back when you and I were still in college.
Wii.
And I believe you liked it, but it was definitely a remake. Like, when I was watching you play it, it did not seem like GoldenEye at all. Like, it was a very different game.
Yeah, like they had a few of the set pieces there to remind you that it was GoldenEye, but it was a new game.
Yes, so we have technically done it before, but this is going to be more faithful to what the original game was.
Which brings me to my next slight eye roll. I love that we're getting 4K resolution on a N64 game.
Yeah,
you're gonna see the crap out of those 32 polygons. Like, it's gonna
all those squares. You're gonna see
it's gonna be awesome.
These 2 games were announced at basically the exact same time by 2 different studios. They are not the same game, and it's not the game that we thought is currently in development as a complete remaster. So there actually might be a third game out there somewhere that's basically also the exact same thing.
It just all feels very unnecessary.
Yeah,
to me. Like, this is like, I'm sure people will get excited for it, but this is not one of those things where I feel like there was an audience asking for it.
So kind of like Blade Runner 2049.
Okay.
2099. Just saying.
I think people are wanting to remember and reignite that nostalgia.
So I was gonna say, it's a nostalgia play, right? Like,
but if people were to go back and actually play GoldenEye, I think they might realize it actually was not that good of a game.
Well,
it was great for the time it came out.
30 years ago.
Yes. And like, there were other first-person shooters already available doing great things over on the PC side of things. This was just the first-person shooter on console that actually, could control worth a crap. So
it was the first console that did 3D. Like, it's just,
So
I don't know. Like I said, it's just, It's a nostalgia play. To me, this feels like a money-making thing.
All right, let's get into our review and speculation and discussion segment where we will be talking about She-Hulk Episode 5, House of the Dragon Episode 4, Lord of the Rings of Power Episode 4, and as a reminder, there are spoilers all throughout this discussion, so if you have not seen these episodes yet, press pause, go watch them, and then come back, unpause, listen to the rest of this episode, because you will not want to miss this. So,
and Corey has just told us that our energy is not great, so I'm going to be energized for the rest of this production. Yeah.
All right. That might be too much, but let's go with it. So, She-Hulk Episode 5.
Episode 5!
So, as a little introduction, there were, yet again, 2 storylines, as, you know, most sitcoms have. So, there was storyline A. It was the court case side of things, so like the main storyline, where Jennifer is having to defend the use of her own name against Titania, who is suing her for trademark infringement because she
trademarked her name, She-Hulk.
Okay, all right. So remember where you were before and where you are now. Let's find like happy medium.
All right.
So Titania has filed a trademark because she is producing products with She-Hulk's name on them, such as perfumes and things like that. And then we had the storyline B, where Pug and Nikki were trying to find She-Hulk new outfits. So, what were some takeaways here, just in general? What did you guys take away from this episode?
It felt like the first half of a good episode. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. The entire episode felt like the first half.
Yeah,
of an episode.
Like it. This was the first episode where I was just kind of like, "This is where we stopped it. Right here's where we should have seen the costume.
It was a teaser. It was a cliffhanger.
Do I need a wardrobe cliffhanger? Like there's another wardrobe cliffhanger in here. I'm sure we'll talk about it in a second, but
yeah,
like it felt like a premature cutoff.
So a couple of big takeaways for me, kind of tying into what you're saying, is that this was really the first episode where there was no fighting, like there were no action scenes or anything. There were no big cameos. Like it really was just Jennifer living as She-Hulk, defending herself in a court case. So I think it was a very different episode than what we've gotten previously. And maybe that's what you're feeling.
So I will say that this was the first episode that I feel like kind of addressed what we talked about the last time I was on the show, where there did feel like there was a weight, a little bit, a cost to her alter ego. A little bit, especially during Hot Guy testimony, where he basically just said, "I was literally only interested in She-Hulk." It kind of inverts it, right? Like the superhero is not the burden. The superhero portion is the best part, and in comparison, it makes her feel like garbage about being a regular person when she's a regular person. So in a very brisk and didn't really give us time to linger on it very much. I was like, there it is. There's a little bit of actual writing right there.
So that's why I'm loving this show, because it's, like you said, it's basically flipping the script of what we typically expect from a superhero show, especially a comedic one like this, where it's not about the superhero, it's about the human side of the superhero story. It's about a person that has superhero powers that is loving the superhero powers, but doesn't want to do anything with superhero life at all. She just wants to live her normal life
as a superhero
and just be a lawyer. And that introduced us to a really heartbreaking scene where, like you said, to defend herself against Titania's trademark infringement, their defense was actually to use the dating app profile that she set up as evidence that She-Hulk was using this name first. And they brought in the people that we saw on a previous episode that she took on dates as testimony to prove that she is She-Hulk. And one of them was the hot guy that she actually hooked up with in a previous episode, but then left after realizing that she was not She-Hulk all the time. She was also just Jennifer, and that was not her type, or that was not his type. And he was like, yeah, I'm super attracted to She-Hulk, but Jennifer, she's just not my type. And that was like a really, like, a little tear came out of my eye, because she looks so heartbroken to realize that her Jennifer, like who she actually is not what people want. They want She-Hulk. That's what they're attracted to. And that was just kind of heartbreaking.
Well, it was also, interesting, which they pointed out several times in the show. She was fighting to protect a name that she didn't even want, but she knew that she had to protect it. And so not only did she have to demean herself by parading her list of connections that she made on the application, on the dating app, which the lawyer that she was working with pointed out, but she also had to protect this name that she didn't even want. So it was kind of everything that she didn't want, she had to keep and treat, or she had to do, which goes back to exactly what you were saying, is that it was kind of a downer episode, because you realize that Jennifer is not able to live the way that she's wanting to, and that she's forcing to live in whatever new way that this She-Hulk persona is forcing her to.
Yeah. Also, I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell they should have won that court case. Like, I'm not going to be that guy. Well, actually, I mean, no, but just, it did bother me a little bit. Like, it's and this comes from someone who loves Boston legal. Like, it's like, it bothered me when the judge ruled in her favor. I'm like, really? Like, even the first thing I had to do is appeal the hell out of that. Like, that's, which maybe that's what's going to happen. But
yeah, a trademark is not, like, it's not a win-all thing, but in most cases, if you file the trademark, you're gonna win.
She's got the paperwork.
Yeah, so
sorry, like, so
yeah, maybe not the most realistic case, but yeah, that's what it was. So we were introduced to Mallory Book, her lawyer that was helping defend her case. She is an established comic book character, so we'll probably see more of her. In storyline B, Pug and Nikki trying to find She-Hulk's new outfits. They came into a boba restaurant because they were trying to find the super secret, hidden in the back guy that makes superhero costumes. And we saw that was actually probably like the best scene in the episode. It was just
the B story was vastly more interesting than the A story.
It kind of dragged on though. Like when they were waiting outside the door, like ringing the doorbell and stuff, and it's like, this scene is like, why is this taking so long?
Felt kind of weird.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of dead silence that was not really 4 laughs. It was just dead silence. So
it's supposed to make everybody feel awkward.
I guess it definitely did that. So they eventually found their way to Luke, the superhero costume designer, who kind of reminded you of that costume designer in The Incredibles. Edna. Yes. He had the exact same vibe.
No capes.
He basically said that. He eventually agreed to work with her. And at the end of the episode, she broke the fourth wall saying, "Oh, my suits." She went to go see Luke. She got to try on her suits. As Josh was saying, we actually did not get to see her try on the suits. So we don't actually know what they look like yet. But the very little last cliffhangery thing is that he had Daredevil's helmet.
More
I thought it was a pineapple hat.
Okay, Jason. It was the yellow, the original
Daredevil hat. Yeah.
Right. The very first costume Daredevil ever wore in the comics, the yellow Daredevil costume.
Right.
So we have gotten our first official look at Daredevil back in the MCU. Like we've obviously seen Charlie Cox, but we've not seen.
This was akin to Tony Stark using the Captain America's shield
to level out his
to level out his new particle accelerator.
His particle accelerator,
yeah.
So yeah, this was hinting at we're probably getting Daredevil in next week's episode. It would be weird to show us the helmet and then wait even more episodes before we get him. So he's probably going to be there next week. But this raises the question. So there's been a lot of news stories, and even Charlie Cox at Disney's D23 Expo being quoted as saying the upcoming Daredevil series, it's not season 4, it's season 1. Yet again, everyone is stopping short of calling it a reboot, but it really seems like we're leading this to being a complete reboot if the stories are not going to be from season 3 to season 4. So I have a theory.
What's your theory, Corey? Would you kindly share it with us?
We already saw in Netflix's Daredevil series that Daredevil has costumes. Like he had his tailor and everything. Like he has an established outfit.
Right.
But from the comic books, the yellow suit was his original
First.
suit.
Yeah.
So why would he be going back to his first suit? My theory is that this is a multiverse scenario where, yes, this is the Matt Murdock and Kingpin that we saw, but a multiverse variation of them. It's not the same storyline that we saw in the Netflix series, but it is the same characters played by the same people.
That would heartbreak me.
So it'd be doing kind of like the Star Trek thing where it was a reboot, but it was also
in continuity,
tying into the original. Yeah, it was still continuity. So I think that's how they're going to kind of get away with moving away from the Netflix series, but still using the same actors, still using the same characters.
Yeah.
And reintroducing them.
If you recall, when we talked about this happening way back earlier in our podcast episodes, one of the things that we felt were important, or at least I remember saying, and I feel we all agreed, was that they maintained the feel of the Daredevil from Netflix. I think we're seeing more and more evidence that that is not happening. We kind of got a different flavor of Kingpin in in Hawkeye. We're about to see a different costume for Matt Murdock and Daredevil here. And if what you're saying is true, I don't know. I feel like they're gonna Disneyfy this character that we've really grown to love off Netflix. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
I don't know. This is all still speculation.
Yeah, I know.
But it does seem like things are kind of pointing us in the direction. Like I feel like they're easing it. I feel like they're dropping the hints.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to ease us into this not being the same show. Like there's still going to be pieces from it because obviously this is the same actors. So he probably will play the character in the same way. So there will be aspects of the original show that I think we'll still love. But I definitely think it's going to be a reboot.
Well,
so
and I think all evidence support your theory at this point.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to say I'm going to bet on you, Corey. I'm going to say Corey is going to be right on this.
Wrapping up episode 5 discussions with our scores. Josh, we have not gotten your score for episode 4. So taking that into account, how are we feeling about She-Hulk after 5 episodes? Currently, Josh, you're at a 4. Jason at a 3.75, and I'm also at a 4.
I'm sorry. This episode was a dud for me. Like it just didn't.
Okay.
It just didn't. It didn't do it. Like it had weird pacing issues, but at the same time, it felt like the episode ended right when it was getting steam. Those are incredibly contradictory feelings to be having. Yeah, just a dud for me. So, and in fact, it was such a dud. I'm lowering my score to 3 yellow helmets out of 5.
And Jason,
3.25.
I'm staying at a 4. So we are currently sitting at a 3.42. I believe we have 3 more episodes. Yes, we have 3 more episodes. She-Hulk season 1 is 9 episodes total. So I have 3 more episodes for them to wrap this up. But that's for next time. Let's move into House of the Dragon episode 4. This was a super horny episode. That was my takeaway. That's all I got. I want you guys to hear this one because that was my takeaway.
Yeah, it was kind of cringy. A little cringy.
No, I mean, I think we finally got the missing piece to a classic Game of Thrones episode. Just a dash of incest. And
just a little dribble.
Don't say dribble. And so obviously that part's a little weird, right? And even then he didn't get that incesty. Like he left her on simmer and dipped
that
out.
incesty.
No.
That
Yeah.
I mean,
jeez. So do you guys ever stay around to watch the like behind the scenes thing after the credits?
So I didn't know that was a thing, but I
Oh.
went up. Like as soon as the episode was over, I went to go to the bathroom. And, like I didn't stop it. So then I came back and it was playing. I was like, "Oh, this is neat." So I had no idea that was there.
They explained that brothel scene in a way that I did not interpret it when I first watched it. But basically, Damon was obviously, we all knew that he was trying to get a rise out of the king, and he had a plot.
Right.
Apparently, he was caught by surprise that she was into it, which is what upset him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't convey that at all.
Yeah. So that's what I said. But
that was no. And I think that would have been more. I think that would have added some layers to it.
I figured he was just feeling guilty or something.
Right.
But no, it was more like he was just caught by surprise that she was actually liking it.
Oh,
which was super weird.
Okay.
You mistook his foiled plan for character development. I understand. No, he did not grow as a person that day. Yeah. No.
Okay. So
I miss his long locks. Can we talk
I
about
did.
that?
I was like, dude, where?
Oh, I liked his new hair.
I mean, it wasn't bad, but I just didn't realize that I was attached
he was
to his
rocking
long
it. Yeah,
hair.
he was definitely rocking the locks. I agree with you on that.
For getting to the king, he is still not in great shape, and we actually saw him with less clothes on than we usually see him in. And
Yeah.
A lot of naked Targaryens in this episode.
We saw a lot of the sores across his entire body. Like, what is Jason?
Yeah.
So you predicted it was leprosy.
Right.
And you shared an article with us where one of the actors basically confirmed it was?
It was the actual actor who's playing the king. Patty Constantine said that he was battling a form of leprosy, and that's what we're seeing. Which is why he had digits falling off and stuff like that, and sores. And
it seems like he has a lot more falling off.
Well,
Did you,
I'm just saying. Yeah.
Did you guys see the unfinished VFX shot in the episode
that they forgot to remove in the last episode?
His two green screen fingers that had fallen off, but they hadn't fixed it yet.
No, I totally missed it.
On last episode, yeah.
No, I missed it. So he's battling leprosy. I'm surprised after this amount of time he still has as much of his hand as he does.
Yeah, he's holding on strong. Like, it's been multiple years now. Yeah.
So, but I do like, so again, as I mentioned in an earlier episode where we've talked about, or an earlier podcast episode where we've talked about this series, this series feels much like I'm watching a book.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there's not a lot of action. There's not a lot of fighting, but it feels like I'm reading the events, how and things are unfolding as if I were reading a book, and it's a different sensation for me, and I'm enjoying it. I was sitting here waiting for something to happen while watching the episode, and nothing really happened, but the story is progressing. It's not stalling. It's not losing steam. You know, they're doing, I guess there was a 2-year time jump on this one, maybe 1 or 2 years or something. I don't know. It's an interesting sensation while watching it, because I don't know. It's just exactly how I'm saying it. It feels like I'm watching a book. And I like it. So I'm actually okay with the lack of action at this point, and I'm just enjoying getting involved in the world, in the stories, and in the lives that they're creating and building up. So I'm enjoying that.
So I like the way you just described that, because I was feeling those exact same things. I just had not really figured out what I was feeling, because I was just going to sum it up as it is a very slow show, but it's doing a whole lot of building up to something is what it feels like. And they're taking their sweet old time building that storyline. I had not yet felt until this episode that it was just too slow for me. But in this episode, I'm like, oh my God, okay. Something needs to happen, because I am losing interest. Like I did not really feel a need to go sit down and watch this episode. The only reason I did was because we were going to talk about it. If it was anything aside from that, I was probably there was no interest there for me to go back and watch this episode. Having said that, I will keep watching because I want to know where the story goes. But it's not really one of those shows where if we weren't talking about it every week, I would not go watch it as soon as it came out. I would probably wait until I get super bored one day and then go watch it. Like, it's not really grasping me the way that other shows do.
So I watched it today, Saturday, for what it's worth. So it wasn't on the, like, oh my gosh, I need to watch it type thing. So I kind of feel you on that.
Yeah. Are you feeling the same way, Josh?
No, this is classic Game of Thrones. Like, I'm down. Like, it's like you said, it wasn't action, but there was development. Things were happening. We're just now starting to get to the real scheming part of all of this, because it's not always about someone getting chopped in half. It's well named. It is a Game of Thrones. So I mean, you're going to have a few episodes like this where it's more about setting things up for reactions later. And I think that's also how they get away with having big action set pieces, is every once in a while you have an episode like this that probably didn't cost them hardly anything to make. And then later on you can do double the budget on a different episode. So no, like this is good. I'm still having a good time. I'm not going to call it a perfect show, but I'm looking forward to the next episode. So yeah.
I did enjoy, or I thought it was really interesting. I'll put it that way. I thought it was really interesting that Damon's concubine, wife, Mysaria is her name. Mysaria, I don't know. She has learned how to parlay the game of secrets.
Mm-hmm.
She's selling information, and she is. I guess I caught this reference earlier in the week that she's this series Spider. What was the guy called in Game of Thrones?
Viserion.
Yeah, that guy. What was his term? I can't remember. Anyway, she's the one that has all the secrets and is selling the information to everybody. And I thought that was pretty cool. So she's a bigger character than they let on and up to this point.
She's going to die horribly. I'm calling it.
God. And they're all going to die horribly. That's what Game of Thrones
probably
does.
Before this season is out. She's going to die horribly.
So let's talk about the big thing. And that eventually led to the king basically firing Otto, his right-hand man.
Good riddance. That
So
guy's what are the whole time? Like,
what are the ramifications of this?
He's losing two hands.
Oh no! So I don't know if you guys watched the preview of the next episode. It seems like Otto is going to kind of start a rebellion, and there's going to be some drama in probably the next couple episodes. I don't know. It was teasing that there was going to be a fight for the throne from Otto's encouragement.
Well,
but
yeah,
maybe that was just clever marketing.
He's getting all pissy, although he really shouldn't be. Like, mission accomplished. Like, he got his daughter with the king. Like, he has royal blood in his family now.
But he was walking that line very finely. I think for the most part, he probably was the most honest and the most candid with the king, and probably a good right hand. But he did engage in some political maneuvering.
It's a very mild way of putting
which destroyed all of his credibility. Otherwise,
it's a very, very mild way of putting that.
Well,
he literally threw his daughter into the bed with the king.
Well,
mild political maneuvering.
Political maneuvering.
I did not politically maneuver with that.
But did you not also get the sense, I mean, minus that, which you're correct, that is a big deal, yes. But did you not also get the sense that he was mostly trustworthy in any other way?
Yeah, I always got the sense that aside from just wanting to get his daughter all up in there, he really did have the king's best interest at heart.
Right.
I don't know. I got strong Halliburton vibes from him, like ever since episode 1.
I appreciate that reference. Nicely done, sir.
Yeah, you have to be at least 25 years old to get that reference, by the way. But
very impressive.
Yeah, no.
Good
so
job.
like, I don't know. I mean, it could just be because it's Game of Thrones. You just kind of assume everyone is
You don't trust anybody.
Sort of crappy. Yeah. But
well, even the king said that everyone has an agenda in this line of work.
Right.
Like, of course, Otto.
They wouldn't be here if they didn't. Yeah.
Well, even Rhaenyra's lied.
Even she has an agenda.
She
she
the one person who I really held out hope for as having some sort of backbone lied.
Yeah.
Are we taking picks for who dies next? Because we still don't really have a death.
Okay, so I was going to say that's actually the least Games of Thronesy thing so far, is that no one has really died.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking there's going to be an episode coming up soon where literally everybody dies.
Yeah, it's going to be a bloodbath. Once this kicks off, it's going to like a rocket. So no, my two picks for who I think are going to die first. Little bodyguard boy, and like if he bites it, it's going to be like next episode because they're just going to figure out what happened and he's going to get canned. Or I'm still calling brothel chick.
You think Viserys?
Yeah, like I don't.
Yeah, concubine.
I think she's just going to come across as someone who's, really gotten into this business and she knows what she's doing and all this, and then she's going to get like crucified in the street or something.
I don't know. My pick is that somehow the queen is going to get caught in some kind of crossfire and she's going to kick it, and that's going to be what kind of leads to a bloodbath. So
interesting.
I don't know, that's my call. I think the queen dies first. All right, let's get into scores for House of the Dragon, episode 4. I'm dumping it down to a 4. It's still a very good watch, but it has lost the grip on me. So
one slow episode, and Corey.
No, I mean I've felt that building up. I've been asking myself every episode, when's something going to happen? Yeah, that's what I'm here for. So it has not lost me, but there's less appreciation there because I don't know. Yeah, I want more. Give me more. So I think that is coming, but I don't know. For right now, I'm at a 4. Josh, what about you?
I'm also actually going to dump it down to a 4.
Okay, all of that.
Well, I was upset because I was counting on your score to even it out. No, so like it's actually one of those things where I wish I did do the half points, because if I did, I'd give it a 4.5. But I am sticking to my guns, whole numbers only. It is a 4, and it's just because it's kind of like Jason has said before, like a perfect score should be for a perfect piece of entertainment. And by no means is it bad. I still highly recommend it for anyone who even remotely enjoyed the original Game of Thrones. But it's a 4. Like, it's really good. So I'm giving it 4 incest brothels out of 5.
Yeah.
And Jason.
I'm going to give it a 4.25. I'm going to drop it down a little.
All right. So that puts us across the board for House of the Dragon after 4 episodes, a 4.08. All right. Let's move into Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, episode 4. What were your key takeaways?
Where is the stranger?
Right? It was mentioned.
Okay. So, thank you. Yeah. There were no hobbits in this episode.
Actually, for rights issues, there are no hobbits at all. These are hardfoots.
Okay.
Oh.
So, Jason and I were talking on this last episode that the Hobbit, or the Hardfoots storyline, was starting to feel like the Madrigal storyline from the Halo TV series.
Thank you, Madrigal. Thank you.
And that kind of cemented it for me in this episode, where they were just not there at all. Like, I was so happy that they weren't.
And the episode was better, right?
See, I was going to say, like, I didn't miss them,
right?
But I did miss the stranger.
Right. Yeah, I would really like to know what's going on with him and where he's going.
But like you said, he was referenced, and it might not be who we've been thinking that it is. I think we were all on Team Gandalf, more or less. Now, characters and people on the interwebs are insinuating it might be Sauron, which to me would be kind of a cheap cop out. But so I'm still hoping it's Gandalf, but I think they may have planted that seed.
I'm
that it
still
could be
50-50 on Gandalf or Saruman.
So like it comes back to, again, based on the similarity. Technically, we're thousands of years before we should have that character. At the same time, though, we shouldn't have had a Isildur for about
Right.
another 1,000 years.
Exactly.
So they're clearly running on a compressed timeline, which is fine. But yeah, so no, that was my biggest thing is you left off my favorite storyline so far, my favorite thread. Because I'm officially on board with Galadriel is annoying. She needs more character development other than give me what I want. That has been her entire plot point.
But she got that. She got that in this episode.
Yeah, I know. So if she continues to be like this, she's just a brat.
Right.
So I don't know. It's just it was strong and assertive on the first episode, and then they stuck with it on the second episode, and then it got grating on the third episode. And by this episode, I was just ready to shake her.
So speaking of Galadriel, she was talking to the Queen at Numenor, and she mentions that Halbrand, that he is the lost heir in exile to the throne of the Southlands. But he is a brand new character. He was actually invented specifically for this TV show. So how does that actually tie into?
So it is
Lord of the Ring lore.
So it is
as a whole.
It is kind of a loose thread from the Lord of the Rings history. The whole thing about the men in the South, which is where his kingdom is, the exile, the Southlands. They were the only group of people who actually sided with, what is his name? Sauron's boss. What was his name? Yeah. Anyway, so the original big bad, Sauron's Palpatine. The men from the South were the only ones that were on board with that, and they actually fully supported him. And so I kind of think they're kind of maybe going to make Halbrand sort of a slightly darker foil for Aragorn. Because that's a very similar plot line. Aragorn was a exiled king kind of by his own choosing for Gondor. And his arc was about claiming that responsibility for good and bad and dealing with his family's history. I think Halbrand is going to be that same situation. What we need to find out is he exiled by his own motives? Or, I mean, basically it's he hasn't said too much how he feels about Sauron yet. But I mean, if he's keeping with his family ties, technically he would be an ally to Sauron. So she's kind of like leaning into he should be reunited with his kingdom. That might not be a good idea. So I don't
No.
I don't know.
One of the things that I'm definitely starting to really is starting to get hammered home is that the elves aren't trusted by anybody.
Well, no, they've been an occupying force for 1,000 years.
Right. Yeah. So the dwarves really don't trust them, and the dwarves don't want to share the fact that they found Mithril, which we're all familiar with.
I'm not, so please explain.
Yes, you are. Oh, well.
I don't remember anything, okay? I am new.
All right. So Mithril...
Why should I care about this shiny thing?
Okay, so this is the vest that Bilbo gave to Frodo in the Lord of the Rings that protected him from getting speared through the chest. It was that chainmail, that very light chainmail that he was given.
What's interesting to note is that it's introduced as Elven Mithril, but it is mined by the dwarves. And given their strained relationship over time, I wonder if maybe it wasn't always given or traded freely between the dwarves and the elves.
So it was shared.
Sure, aggressively.
Yes.
And so especially since we're about to see a huge forging undertaking by the elves, the fact that this new ore comes into play right when they're getting ready to start forging these rings, I wonder if that might play into it.
All right, then a couple other things to wrap up what we saw in this episode. So Arondir, the elf, is back. He has been rescued, and he's back to killing things.
He caught he caught an arrow in flight. I think that's the first time I've ever seen that happen.
Yeah, that was
pretty
cool.
awesome.
Yeah. And then Galadriel convinced the queen to escort Galadriel back to the Southlands and to give her a fighting chance.
You know, that scene where they're asking people to step forward, that is a trope that we're all familiar with. Who will go fight? Who will step forward? We need somebody to protect the lands. For some reason, this one hit me in the feels this time.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what was different about it. But I was sitting there, I'm like, I feel kind of strongly about this. This is kind of get me right in the chest. I'm like, okay, all right. You got me coming back for next week. You got it. Okay. I don't know what it was. I don't know what was different, but I was on board for it.
I don't know. I did not feel that, but I think we're leading up to a gigantic battle. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, yeah,
maybe I'm misreading it, but I think we're about to start seeing some swords.
Yeah, we're getting everyone into kind of sort of Helm's Deep and, into the tower. And so, yeah, no, I do think we're getting ready for some $1 billion action coming in pretty soon. This wasn't my favorite episode, but I feel
so use
like
that. Use that to wrap up this.
Yeah, I feel like it was
some final thoughts.
Yeah, I feel like it was a necessary episode to get us to the next act. Does that make sense? Like it was important. It just wasn't necessarily the most interesting one to watch. I almost wish we were rating this one by individual episodes, because overall I still want to give the series a 5. So that's where I'm going to leave it. This episode I would give like a 3.5 or a 4. But right now I'm still prepared to call this one of the best shows on TV. So I'm going to leave it at 5 hunks of mithril out of 5.
Yeah, I'm staying at a 5 because in the last episode I mentioned if that Hobbit / I guess Hardfoot storyline kept dragging on, I was going to bump it down. But hey, they listened to me because they weren't there at all. So
we'll show
5 out of 5.
I'm going to say this is a 4.75. I'm bringing my series down a bit. It's still really, really good, but you ever try to throw a punch underwater? That's kind of what this felt like. Like a lot of resistance to the momentum. So 4.75, I think is good.
All right. Well, across the board, that puts The Rings of Power after 4 episodes at a 4.92. All right. So that wraps up our episode for this week. As a reminder, on next week's episode, we will be talking about She-Hulk episode 6, House of the Dragon episode 5, Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power episode 5, and brand new to the rotation, Star Wars Andor episodes 1 through 3.
Andor what?
You have made that joke before. Next time you make it, you're
gonna get old for me.
Yellow card.
But yes, I don't know, guys. I think we might have to start like a lottery or something for who gets to watch what, because I don't know if all of us can watch all 4 of these episodes or all 4 of these shows every single week. That's a lot.
Well,
looking at you, Josh, because I know you have kids.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah,
so,
I do.
I don't know. Maybe next week we'll take turns watching shows, but we'll see.
So share this darn podcast. For the love of everything holy, share it.
We're doing this for you. Give us something back in return.
It's really for us, but like we have we have benchmarks and milestones we're trying to achieve here, and if things don't happen, it's like, what's the point?
Our shareholders expect us to meet a certain quota. So, guys, we need your help.
Right. Come on. We have to do better than Warner Brothers. We have to.
Oh, that's easy. That's not hard at all.
Well, considering the size of our money, it's a trash can fire.
Oh, Jason, we're not a trash can fire.
No.
We are.
I mean, it would be. What I'm saying is it would be a trash can fire. That's what I'm saying.
Take us home, Jason.
Take us home. Country road, Texas. Okay. You could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me.
Take it easy, people.